Is this, and that. And you just learn a bunch of definitions of things. Who did this, and that? Oh, it's Sir Harry Johnson. Who colonized this country? This person. Like, they will teach you about the entire American history and how it came to be. How we were living in homes where we had pit latrines, but we never learned how to create our own water systems to uplift ourselves or to live a much more healthier life. A lot of my friends were growing up in homes without electricity. Even me, I lived so many years when I was young without electricity in my home. Now, what does learning about a fucking grasshopper body parts is gonna help me about that? Nothing. So we need to really be pragmatic and straightforward and smash the project to the head. No learning garbage.
Rockefeller made sure to get the better end of the bargain. He would donate his great wealth to the creation of public institutions, but those institutions would be used to bend society to his will. As every would-be ruler throughout history has realized, society has to be transformed from the ground up. Americans in the 19th century still prized education and intellectual pursuits, with the 1840 census finding unsurprisingly that the United States, a nation that had been mobilized by tracts like Thomas Paine's remarkably popular Common Sense, was a nation of readers, with a remarkable 93% to 100% literacy rate. Before the first compulsory schooling laws in Massachusetts in 1852, education was private and decentralized, and as a result classical education, including study of Greek and Latin and a solid grounding in history and science, was widespread. But a nation of individuals who could think for themselves was anathema to the monopolists. The oligarchs needed a mass of obedient workers, an entire class of people whose intellect was developed just enough to prepare them for lives of drudgery in a factory. Into the midst stepped John D. Rockefeller with his first great act of public charity, the establishment of the University of Chicago. He was aided in this task by Frederick Taylor Gates, a Baptist minister that Rockefeller befriended in 1889 and who would go on to be John D.'s most trusted philanthropic advisor. Gates would go on to write a short tract, The Country School of Tomorrow, that laid out the Rockefeller plan for education. In our dream, we have limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hand. The present educational conventions fade from our minds, and, unhampered by tradition, we work our own goodwill upon a grateful and responsive folk. We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers, or men of learning or science. We are not to raise up from among them authors, orators, poets, or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo great artists, painters, musicians, nor will we cherish even the humbler ambition to raise up from among them lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, of whom we now have ample supply. Although Rockefeller's resources weren't exactly limitless, they might as well have been. In 1902, he established the General Education Board to help implement Gates's vision for the Country School of Tomorrow with a staggering $180 million endowment. The Rockefeller influence on education was felt almost immediately, and it was amplified by help from fellow monopolists of the era who were approaching the topic of philanthropy from the same angle. Although best known as a steel magnate, Andrew Carnegie's fortune started on the railroads transporting Rockefeller's Standard Oil around the country, and was greatly magnified by a lucrative investment in property near Oil Creek that provided steady, profitable oil sales. In 1905, he established the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, a tax-free foundation through which Carnegie and his appointees could direct the development of the education system in the United States, and, eventually, worldwide. In 1910, Rockefeller followed suit by establishing the Rockefeller Foundation, which became the tax-free umbrella organization for his philanthropic ambitions. As the Reese Committee, a congressional investigation into the activities of these tax-free foundations in the 1950s, discovered, it wasn't long before Carnegie's endowment approached Rockefeller's foundation with a proposal to cooperate on their shared desire to transform the American education system in their own image.
And are you, when people come in contact with you, are you encouraging school? What's your overall outlook on the school system right now?
I'm about 50% in alignment with your reasoning. I do believe college is overpriced. Right now in America, we have over 2 million American Africans with master's and doctorate degrees unemployed. From doctors to lawyers to engineers, it is amazing at the amount of talented black people, well certified, well credentialed, and they can't find work. So I do understand where you're coming from. And I do believe that our children, especially our men, need to redirect their attention back to the industrial building trades, which served as the foundation for the economic reality of Black America for about 50 years. We gave up the industrial building trades for a life of collegiate education, and it has not proven a benefit to the community. Once upon a time, we didn't have to go to college at all. Our grandparents were auto mechanics. They were roofers. They were welders. Okay, they were laborers. They were barbers. They were plumbers. We need to go back to that, because when I look at FDMG and the money that we're paying to renovate the school, our electric bill was over $100,000. It took them 2 weeks. Our plumbing bill was nearly $100,000. It took them about 2 weeks. So you're earning a surgeon's salary, you're earning about a third of a surgeon's salary in 2 weeks. Who wouldn't want that type of an opportunity? So if I were in charge, every Black boy and every Black girl would get a certification before they go off to college. Now, I will not completely shut the door on college education. Why not? We still need a Black professional class. I would rather have a Black surgeon than a non-Black surgeon. I would rather have a Black dentist than a non-Black dentist. I would rather have a Black engineer, school teacher, psychologist, social worker than a non-Black one. So we still need our professional class, so college remains relevant, but I think Black people need to start sending their children intentionally more to the HBCUs. I think that we are losing out by keeping our children away from the Black college reality. And since our colleges are struggling with retention and with revenue, if we made up our minds to marry the Black college experience, I think it's a win-win situation. But I also think that the HBCU needs to keep current and competitive with the PWIs, because a lot of Black parents don't have a loyalty to the HBCU, unfortunately. So therefore, the HBCU needs to remain relevant. And I think